So good morning, everybody, and welcome and thank you for joining us today. I'm Chiara Facciotto. I'm your host for the day or for the morning for this event. And I'll just briefly introduce a little bit the concept of this event series and then very quickly pass the word to our speakers for today. So today's topic, as you know, is how to establish research business collaborations. And I was very happy to see that we have both academics and industry partners signed up for this. So I hope that you can also maybe connect. Feel free to put your LinkedIn in the chat and so on, so that people can find you later. So the concept of Health Talks is actually a series of events that take place roughly every 3 weeks or once a month. They are coordinated by Terkko Health Hub, and we have Rashad from Terkko Health Hub online today. So if you have more questions about the event series, please message him. He's Terkko Health Hub, very easy to spot. But yeah, so the idea behind this is that Rashad and other people realized that there were different startup hubs in Finland were creating very similar events. So then it would be nice to kind of coordinate them. So as you can see, there are partners from all the major cities and startup hubs here in Finland. And I represent HiLIFE, which is not a startup hub, it's actually a research institute. But we are very focused on promoting also innovation. And this is one of the innovation activities that we like to support. So this month, we are the one organizing the Health Talks. And then I think that next month, it will be some other hub around Finland. So all the Health Talks are, of course, related to health innovation, pharma innovation, and so on. And the topics are quite varied. So I really recommend you to look up the upcoming ones later on. On the HiLIFE side, we are part of the University of Helsinki. We basically, the idea behind HiLIFE is to connect all the life science research done at the University of Helsinki across 6 faculties, yes, and then also support researchers interested in innovation. But going more towards today's program, so our first speaker today is going to be Caroline Heckman, who is a group leader in the FIM, so the Institute for Molecular Medicine Finland, and she has quite a long history of business collaboration, so I'm very happy that she's here today to share with us. Then we will have Darshan Kumar from Aphoria. He's actually an ex-researcher, graduated from University of Helsinki, and he is now working in a company still handling this kind of collaboration, but from the other side. And last, we will have Juha Klefström, that is leading CancerIO, a large public-private partnership between academia and industry. So he will also give the take on how to scale this type of collaborations. I would kindly ask you to keep your questions for the Q&A around 10:20. You can feel free to already post your questions in the chat if you come up with any during the talks. And then I can ask them, or just raise your hand when we have the Q&A and feel free to ask them directly, whatever you feel more comfortable with. But without any further ado, please, Caroline, I pass the stage, or at least the sharing of the screen, to you.
Okay, thank you, Chiara. Let me see if I can find my PowerPoint. I think we should have checked this before. I actually, looks like I'm having some sharing problems. So let me just.
In case, you can always send me the slides.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I apologize for the delay, everyone. It seems I've been having some computer issues lately.
Creating some suspense.
While we're waiting, I saw that Dana has posted about herself and Nordic Life Science, Nordic Mentor Network. Oh man. I actually wanted to ask you guys, Dana, if you could say, do you accept R2B projects into the program? You're muted.
Yeah, we can see you, but we cannot hear you.
Try again.
Still no luck.
Try
Maybe you
with
can
your-
type.
Yeah.
And actually, by a raise of hands, so like you can all raise the hand, like if you were asking a question, how many of you are already involved on a academia industry partnership from either side? Doesn't matter if you're an academic or like a corporate or a startup. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so then a lot of people curious to get this started. That's very good. I think that this event is going to be relevant for you, but of course also for those already doing it. Caroline, do you want me to share the slides? If you send
Yes, I'm gonna send them to you, but I have an ancient computer right now, and it's really slow. So I'm just wondering if we should actually get started with Darshan. But let me see. Now I finally managed to get somewhere with
We
this.
can also switch if Darshan is available, because I know that he might have also a bit tight schedule.
Yeah.
Let's see. But you can start sending them. Darshan, are you already online? I think he's not.
He's here.
Oh, yes. Yeah, he's here, but he might not be available to talk. So just FYI, Darshan is very committed to this event because unfortunately he was taken for surgery yesterday. The surgery went fine, so he's going to connect from the hospital just because he really didn't want to give his talk. So that's why I think that he will stick to his schedule.
Okay. Yeah, I'm really sorry about this. I think my problem is that my computer can't do more than one thing at once. So I'm gonna try to figure out how to.
Of course, you're also welcome to give the presentation without sharing the slides, and then we can send them to the people afterwards.
Okay.
If that is good.
It's just incredibly slow. So I really apologize for this. We should have sent this to you earlier. Okay.
I think today is going to be an interesting meeting.
Okay. All right.
Caroline,
so she can show the slides for you.
Yes, I'm trying to email them to her, but my computer can't do Zoom and email at the same time. That's the problem. So,
do you think you can present without slides?
Yes, I can also present without slides. So Kara,
Right.
they're now on the way to you.
Okay.
Very,
Then start. We can start them by the time they arrive.
Yes.
I have them. I'll open them and then very quickly. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Having major computer issues.
I think they are also quite heavy because it's taking a bit to download even for me. So it might be,
Okay.
or no, actually not. Okay, I have them. I'll share them.
Okay.
Yes. So just tell me when you want me to switch.
All right. Yeah. So you can, if you can show them. No, thank you.
I think now they are up.
All right. Yeah. So maybe. Yeah. Well, good morning, everyone, and I really apologize for the delay, but yeah, we can get started. So yeah, and thank you, Kiara, and Rashad for the invitation to present this morning, and it's nice to have an opportunity to tell about my group's experience in doing research and business collaboration. So Kiara, could you switch to the next slide, please? So for my presentation, which I will now have to run through a little bit more quickly, I'll just give you a quick background of myself and my group's research interest, and also say why we're collaborating with companies. Maybe give also a little bit of perspective from my viewpoint of why I think companies want to work with academic researchers. Also some additional advantages that I have found when working with companies, but then also some disadvantages as well. And then I'll end by providing a few tips on maybe collaborating with companies if you want to set up a collaboration yourself in the future. Next slide, please. So just to tell you a little bit about my background. I did my PhD in the US at the MD Anderson Cancer Center, so in cancer biology, before moving on to a postdoc and senior researcher position at Stanford University. And there I was in the Department of Medicine and Division of Hematology. And I moved for personal reasons to Helsinki. And when I arrived in Helsinki, I was working with Kari Alitalo and his group. And then in 2010, I moved over to FIM. I was a senior researcher and a PI there, and then more recently became a research director leading our functional precision medicine Grand Challenge. Next slide. So my group's research is focused on blood cancers. We're really interested in developing new treatment strategies and identifying biomarkers that can help stratify patients, especially patients with high-risk diseases like acute lymphoblastic leukemia or acute myeloid leukemia, and then also for patients with relapse disease, and for example, those with multiple myeloma. And then also we have other goals in trying to understand and overcome drug resistance and disease progression mechanisms. So a lot of these goals are really aligned with also company-driven research as well. So next slide, please. So basically, I think the research that we are doing in our group is of interest also to companies that we collaborate, and I think many of you will find the same as well. And so this is one of the reasons why we also collaborate with the companies that we do collaborate with. But there's also some other advantages as well. This is, one of them is also getting your hands on useful research tools. And this is in the form of maybe novel drugs and reagents. And then I think, of course, we have this greater goal of trying to move research from the lab to the clinic, and the companies have the same goal as well. But of course, it's important that we get funding to support our research, so companies can provide that type of project funding support. And then I think in terms of career development, you do get a lot of useful contacts and from these collaborations, not only for yourself, but also for your research team. And I think overall, the experience has been generally very, very good when we have had these collaborations, and it has been an easy way for people in my group, for example, to move forward, and if they're interested in working with company later on. The next slide, please. And just from my own perspective, why do I think that companies want to collaborate with academic researchers? Well, I think we offer access to, or we offer expertise and resources that support company research and development goals. And many companies, they actually have quite minimal resources for early research and development, and they outsource this early R&D activity to maybe commercial research organizations, or they just partner with academic labs such as ourselves. And then often companies, they sort of have a grander goal because they're developing drugs, but they don't necessarily have the expertise and resources for more focused research, on specific diseases. So, for example, my group offers very good expertise and resources on blood cancers. And this is what we can offer as an academic partner to a collaborator. And then also, I think for companies, it's important that academic partners can provide a source of validation and also visibility for these companies, because the researchers do go out and present the research at international conferences, for example, and through publications. Next slide. So I think, I mentioned a few advantages earlier, but I think other, just to go through the clear advantages and disadvantages of working with companies. As I mentioned earlier, they do offer a very good source of external funding, and besides our traditional academic funding sources. I think in Finland, we just have a few, public funders and then a lot of private foundations, but this is quite limited and quite competitive. Then of course there's the EU funding, which is also quite competitive. So this has really become a very useful source of external funding for my group. Also, the companies that we work with, they're also working with other academic partners, and often the projects that we get involved in might be such that there are multiple research groups that are involved, and you do make contacts, useful contacts with other academic researchers, and these often build into more purely academic research collaborations. The companies really don't, I think, the company researchers that we have worked with, they, for themselves, they don't need publications as much, but of course, as academic researchers, this is important for us. And it's been such that although the companies, we really make sure that we're able to publish our results, and the work, a lot of the work is done by us, but we're the main publishers of the research work we do with companies. And then I think in addition to the research support, companies can also provide support for other activities. And it's been easy to reach out to our company collaborators to ask if they could help sponsor conferences and symposiums, for example. So they have been another way to generate income as well. Next slide. But there are often disadvantages of working with companies as well. Companies often have their own internal deadlines that result in also demanding timelines for returning research results. So they usually have quarterly, if not more often, reporting of research results, and so it's really important to be able to keep to those deadlines that you set with the company. Often the goals of the company and their directions might change over the course of the collaboration, and this can be sometimes a little frustrating. And then the personnel turnover can also be quite high. People at companies seem to jump from one position at one company to another. And so if you have an ongoing collaboration over, a couple of years, you can expect to work with different people over that time. And then the companies themselves can change, and this is often caused by a company being bought by another company. Sometimes it's a little frustrating because you might be discussing a project with a company, and then suddenly everything goes quiet because the company just got bought, and then of course the goals then change of the company. But so that can be also a bit frustrating. And then the other thing is when you have, there are two types of collaborations that we have with companies at the university level. So we have collaborative research and there's commercial service. There's a lot of IP discussion, especially with the collaborative research. And so this can also be a little bit daunting and sometimes a little frustrating, but one just needs to persevere through that. And but next slide. And then I think actually this is my last slide, and I just wanted to provide a few tips for people that are interested in setting up a collaboration or might be discussing a collaboration with the companies. I think it's very good to be proactive. Most of our collaborations were actually set up because we were presenting research at a conference, for example, and I have arranged to have meetings at conferences, and this has been a really good place to network. So one really needs to reach out, be proactive, set up meetings, and use these conferences to meet with your prospective company partners. It's always important to establish a mutual disclosure agreement, so a CDA or NDA at the beginning of the discussion. And then it's also very important to make sure your research interests are aligned. It's not very, of course, for an academic researcher, you don't want to be stuck in a collaboration where maybe you're not that, interested. You may have been interested in getting the funding, but maybe the research itself may not be so exciting to you. So really make sure that your research interests are aligned, and I think that that both you and the company would benefit in terms of what you're planning to do. But I think it's also important to think of the bigger picture as well, and think of long-term plans. So maybe a company will approach you and it's just maybe a first starting project, which is could be a relatively small 6-month project, for example, but think about the long-term goals as well. For us, we're really interested in seeing that the preclinical research that we're doing has the possibility to move to clinical trials, for example, and I think it's important to discuss that also with companies, and just say that would be one of your goals, long-term goals, for example, that maybe Finland or Helsinki could be included in a clinical study that would be done based on the research that you're doing. And then think about, are there other researchers at the university who may benefit from the collaboration as well? When we set up the initial CDAs or NDAs, usually it's within one institute or department, but often we're collaborating across departments here in Helsinki. So you might think that it might be beneficial to bring in your academic collaborators as well. So you might make sure that these agreements cover these different institutes and departments as well. And basically, a lot of the work that the companies do can be quite broad, and if they're developing a drug, they might be interested in one disease in the beginning, but later they want to look at it, the activity in another disease, and maybe you're not so interested in that disease, but you know somebody else at the university who is, so you can of course refer them to that other group, but make sure that these agreements would be able to cover, I think, different researchers. And then I think it's also important to discuss publication plans early as well, so there are no misconceptions, and you can really present that publications are very important as an academic researcher, and this would be a priority, of course, in terms of the collaboration. I think it's also good to be positive and flexible. I think in the beginning, the discussions will drag on for a while, especially going through agreements. And so you really need to be, you need to persevere through that part. It may not be so interesting, but you need to be patient, and eventually things will get done. But I think one of the most important things is really to value your own work and your resources, and don't sort of undermine yourself thinking that what they want isn't possible. I think it's good to be optimistic and think, think about the bigger picture. That you wouldn't be having the discussion with the company if they weren't interested in what you have been doing, and if they didn't value what you've been doing and your expertise. So I think it's really good to take on a more positive view of your own work, and think about the resources that we have here in Finland, because I think they are quite useful to company projects, and they wouldn't be talking to you otherwise. But I think that's my time now, and thank you, and I'll be happy to take any questions later, and I really apologize for the slide sharing issues. So
no worries at all, and thank you so much, Caroline. I think that you raised some very important topic of discussion, and I think there will be questions at least from me later, but hopefully also from other people in the audience. Darshan, are you ready?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. Do you have slides that you can share? Do you want to send them to me?
Yeah, I have slides. I can share them now.
Okay, perfect. Then please, I think I introduced you already a little bit before, but also you can say a few words. Yes.
Yeah, well, yeah, thank you so much. As you can see, I'm actually in the hospital. I just underwent a surgery for my appendix, but I try to keep my video off so that you don't have to see my not that happy background. Okay, I would like to first start by thanking the organizers. Thank you, Tiara, and all the rest of your team to make this event possible. It's quite important to have such an event. I will talk a little bit about the business collaborations from our side, how we have done it, what are the important points, what to think about it while going about it. Yeah. Maybe I will start a little bit about myself and then go ahead with talking about the company as well. In short, I come from country called as India, quite a vast country, where I did my education, and then I got a chance to go to the south of the world in New Zealand, where I did a little bit of an internship in a completely different field. It was a good training for me from biotechnology to food sciences in New Zealand. I went back towards the west, where I did my master's and actually another internship in biomedicine in Leiden University in Netherlands. Then I decided to do master's there itself. Then I started to go a little bit towards north and ended up in Finland, where I did then my research and my PhD in the Helsinki Yliopisto in the Viikki campus. And finally, where I am now, and Aiforia is where I ended up after the research finished. A little bit about the company, why this company exists. So in short, we are a company that does image analysis using deep neural networks, so artificial intelligence, which is what everyone talks about these days. So what the company does in short is helping patient lives by getting doctors help from the artificial intelligence perspective. Why? Because the population is increasing. Number of pathologists are dwindling quite much, who are diagnosing your cancer or other diseases that a patient may have. But the volumes are increasing for the pathologists, so they really cannot keep up with high efficiency. So that's where the AI helps them in diagnosing patient-related information. So in short, one's picture should speak everything. This is a pathologist looking through a binocular, trying to understand if there is cancer or not, for example, and what is the level of that cancer. It can be any disease. I'm just taking cancer right now, just to make it a bit simple. What we do in short is that these images are then taken through a digitized format, so that they can you don't have to look through a binocular. You take a photograph, put it through an AI engine, and then the AI basically tells you all this information that the doctor can then basically check and then give the diagnosis. For that to happen, you have a slide that goes into a machine that looks like this, and then you have your data that comes out, which goes into our softwares for doing all the calculations. After a lot of struggle, after a lot of innovation, after a lot of research, after a lot of business collaborations and research collaborations, we have now been able to go to different parts of the world and then being able to deploy our solutions in different parts of the world. Some companies with whom we are working with or have worked with are the following. They are, as you can see from this picture, there many of them are research institutes, or they are institutes with whom we have been working. But in short, the customers that we are focusing on or in segments that we are focusing on are preclinical, pharma, biotech, CROs, education customers. A heavy load comes from the clinical side, but guess what? The academic research is one of our very core points that we are working with. This slide, what's showing you right now are concrete examples of academic research that we have been working on. We don't work too much with plant sciences, but this is something I really wanted to mention, that it doesn't matter for us if it's human or non-human image analysis that we do on the artificial intelligence side. This is a lab, this human lab from Helsinki University in Viikki, where they're wanting to count these very small stomata in the leaf, and instead of you counting it manually, the students basically use the software, Aiforia software, to automatically count all of these stomata for the leaf-related research. Another concrete example is from Päivi Saavalainen's lab from Helsinki University, where Pinja, the researcher, has been making algorithms where they can count these, you can see these faint droplets of different intensities, and then automatically make an algorithm to detect those. This is a paper that was recently published. I was happy to be part of the paper as well, where they have been using from Merja Huotelainen's lab from Viikki as well, making algorithms to detect inclusions within the nucleus in Huntington's. This is the figure that was associated with Aiforia in this publication. The list just goes on. This is I would really like to thank Mikko Airavara and also Mart Sarma for giving us initial a boost of research collaborations that we actually started off with, where we were able to make all this happen. Again, like I said, the list goes on. This is our strength. These research collaborations give us a meaning. These research collaborations help us to understand where an unmet need is, and how we can be a few steps ahead even from our competition. So in short, this is a slide that I would really like to spend a little bit more time in, is that research is the one that gives rise to a business, to be honest. The business always can be disruptive through technology, and that comes from hardcore research. The business often can have its own internal research so that it can refine and improve what it is doing. But in a nutshell, the business needs to constantly be in touch with the research so that it can understand how it can improve, where the unmet needs are, and how it can, actually be more meaningful to the environment around us, touching human lives, or actually, directly or indirectly human lives. So yeah, that causes a happy ecosystem to exist. I guess that's pretty much it. And like Caroline said, it's very important to keep in mind things like NDA, to keep in mind things like timing, because in the company, timing is quite important. So if the research collaboration might take many years, it might be a bit difficult. But if the research collaboration has a good defined time with something that relates to the company that the company is doing, because unfortunately we are bound by money as well. Well, of course, the researchers are also bound by money, but this is something that is very important to keep in mind before starting such a collaboration. So yeah, please keep the NDA and CDA quite much in mind. If you don't have your own, the company might have their own. But even if any company gives you an NDA or CDA, please read each and every line properly so that you're not in a problem after you get a great patent out, and then you don't know, okay, who does this patent belong to from this research? I will stop there, and thank you again so much for the kind time.
Thank you very much, Darshan. Will you be able to stay for the Q&A, or do you think that you have to disconnect already?
Yeah, that depends if the doctor comes around again. But
Okay.
I will try to be online. Yeah.
But then, in case someone already has a question for Darshan and they really want to make sure that they can ask it, maybe in this case we can allow a question. So, anybody?
Yes, Darshan, my question to you is, do you analyze a PET scanning image?
Sorry, hi, can you repeat your question kindly?
The PET scan.
Yeah, it is definitely possible. The only problem is the PET scan mostly, in most cases, are three-dimensional, and we have some customers who gave us PET scan. It's just that then we do it layer by layer, and then later on you can combine them for the 3D visualizations. So it's totally possible. Yeah.
But is your technology gonna expand into 3D analysis, like integrated 3D?
Yeah, that's a good point. We are actually focusing mostly on the pathology samples, because the pathology samples are mostly 2D. And the pathology samples sometimes are quite difficult because the 2D image, although it's just 2D, it has a lot of things in it, from immune cells to cancer cells to lymph. So it has a lot of things inside it. And with the PET, it's most likely a black and white image where you have things to see, but it's relatively not that difficult as compared to the pathology sample. So I really hope we can go into 3D as well, just that it's a business decision to make from the management side, I would say. But yeah, I really hope to go on that. We are doing quite a lot with X-rays as well, but the X-rays are 2D as well, so that's possible for us to do. PET is also, I mean, like I said, it's possible. It's just that it's more like a workflow that we need to go around. So it's not too difficult, because nearly 99% of the 3D images come from the combination of every 2D image put into stacks. So.
Yeah. So another question is, a typical pathologist, do they actually change their focal point? And because most pathology slides also have depth of vision, right?
Do they change the focal point? You mean if they are going up and down on the Z plane?
Up and down.
Yeah, good. That's a good point. Yeah, in some cases they are going up and down, but the easy solution for that is to have a maximum intensity projection, so that you collapse all these Z planes into one plane, and then you actually get an even better 2D image. and that can be run through the analysis. Good.
So essentially, this is not a limitation that you are doing 2D, because there are 3D aspects of it for you.
Correct. Yeah, generally for cytology cases, they would always like to, with the binocular, go up and down a little bit, and that's totally fine because the imaging solutions these days can take all these images in multiple different focal planes, which are not too far from each other, collapse them in one plane, which is called as a maximum intensity projection, and then pass it through the I4 system. Yeah.
Maybe since this seems to be a bit of a technical discussion, you can exchange contact and continue later, because it seems that you have a lot to discuss. Thank you so much, Darshan, and I hope that we can still get you later for the Q&A. And now I welcome Juha Klefström. Thank you. Juha Klefström, Director of CancerIO and also professor here at the University of Helsinki, who is going to share a little bit more broadly like these public-private partnerships, so larger scale collaborations. Thanks. You, Juha.
Thanks, Kiera, for inviting me to highlight some aspects of CancerIO. And because time is running short, I jump right into my slides. So do you see my slides?
Yes.
So let me just then.
You can just go to the presenter view or presentation view. Sorry.
Is it now? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So my talk is really about kind of how to do things, how to run a large public-private partnership. A little bit tell you about CancerIO, but I just focus on one aspect that I found as maybe most important, so to speak, success factor when you are running a large consortia. So everything started around, I think, 2018 from science, from research. So there was time I was in a largest a cancer conference in a world, which is American Association of Cancer Research Conference. And something what struck me and my colleague Jeroen Pauwels at the time was that about 95% of all talks were different than they used to be. So what they used to be was to deal with how cancer mutations are causing cancer and what kind of targeted therapies could be developed, whereas all of a sudden everybody was not talking anymore about cancer mutations, but everybody was talking about non-cancer cells, so immune cells. So clearly there was a big change in a tide in a world that the new focus on immune treatments, immunological treatments, immuno-oncology. So whole field is called immuno-oncology. And then when we come to Finland, we are returning to Finland and we are following the discussion in the areas of research and development. Then everybody talks about DNA mutation. So we felt that DNA mutations are important. Nobody's kind of questioning that. But the question is that are we awake in Finland so that big changes are happening, transformative changes, and somehow the discussion and awareness in Finland is still kind of a few years lagging behind. So the other thing, when I start to discuss about that ways immuno-oncology in the Finnish landscape type of questions, I have discussed with some of my friends and collaborators in the pharma industry, and they said that they know definitely that Finland is not awake, and that's shown by statistics, because the statistics was showing that many of these new immuno-oncological treatments are coming to the Finnish hospitals with a much lower and lesser frequency than in comparator countries like Sweden and Norway. So Finland was lagging in bringing new IO treatments to IO is immuno-oncology to hospitals. So the third thing what really was a big concern for me is that that I knew, and many of my colleagues knew, that the way how new medicines are approved in Finnish hospitals is a little bit complicated. And what is complicated is that if you have a pill and then you have an infusion, then the approval of those drugs goes through different channels. So 95% of new immuno-oncological treatments to solid cancers are combination treatments where you have a pill and infusion. And we were feeling that one big obstacle in Finland is that it's so complicated to approve those drugs which together form a treatment, because they are approved through two different channels, that something has to be, at least the problem has to be really brought into attention of decision makers. And Finnish patient organizations were already active voicing out this concern, but maybe we thought that maybe we could a little bit help them in this effort. So in 2019, the need for Finnish IO-focused consortium was really clear, so that everybody was agreeing that this is something what now kind of we have to roll sleeves and get into action to basically make the first of all bring this big change, disruptive change in a cancer treatment landscape into the public attention, not only in scientific communities but also in a broader public awareness, and also address quickly some of the problems which are kind of preventing us to fully capture these new opportunities. So the problems were scientific and research in areas. So scientists were we had a very few scientists focusing on immuno-oncology, even they were calling themselves cancer scientists. That also meant that there was less opportunities for R&D in companies, like in a small and medium enterprises, SMEs, to develop new technologies. Even the time was right, and also there was problems in our kind of in our hospitals and health sector in terms of slow capture. And then there was a big societal problem, which is simply that cancer patients who would be might be benefiting from IO were not couldn't have access to those drugs. So there's all these problems. So once you understand that there is a problem and there's a need, everything is after that is very simple. So the remaining questions really were that who will do it, who we're going to invite into consortium, and who will and how to run the show. So we kind of got applied or discussed with Business Finland about funding opportunities, and we went into these cycles where we are starting with co-creation, which is really the time when you're building a consortium, and that was happening in the end of 2018, and then we kind of were able to come up with a very coherent research proposal. Ecosystem building proposal as well, and so we got funding in October 2019, and the total funding was 10 million, 2 million for universities and 8 million for so-called company projects, so the final decision came. So we submitted the co-innovation in 2019, and the final decision was 2020, so not so long time ago. So we created a large consortium which have about more than 30 partners, and these are the partners. You can see that we have universities, we have all kind of university hospitals, and the associated FICAN units. We had a large number of different small and medium-sized enterprises listed here, and all pharma companies wanted to join, and also we have 3 different patient organizations. So we built the whole program around 3 themes that I mentioned already. So like there's a societal need for a better IO awareness. there's a need in the research, and then we have to also kind of bring the discussions to the health sector to improve the medicines truth and approval to the use in the Finnish hospitals. So I don't, this whatever 15 minutes I have time, I don't have time to go into details about the structure of the program, but this is just to give you a quick sight what aspects we've been working on. And I think what's important is that we really decided to take this 360-degree view, so that we tried to avoid of this kind of small bubbles forming, that we have a scientist working on the research aspects, and then we have kind of hospital heads working on the health issues, and then we have patient organizations working on societal. So we wanted to really kind of provide for everybody opportunity and possibility to understand the problems in the societal health and research areas. And I think we're kind of with Heidi Haikala trying to philosophize this, that what is the philosophy behind this kind of 360. And I think Heidi was pulling out this really nice descriptive picture, and I think she wrote a blog about this. The totuus is in Finnish means truth, and as scientists we always want to, we are seeking truth, and often you can see only one angle of the truth, unless you try to kind of have a bigger perspective view on the question you are trying to address or understand. So I think it was fitting very nicely to our scientific mindset that we really kind of trying to expand this work from the research to the other aspects as well. So if I pose one question to you guys listening to my talk is that if you think of how to run a large more than 30 member public-private partnership, then what is the single most important activity that keeps the consortium, first of all, coherent, second, focused, third, motivated, and fourth, productive? And I think it's quite clear from the picture that the keyword really is communication. So I'm at the moment involved in several different scientific consortia. I'm running some of those, but we realized from the get-go that once you are bringing in kind of a diversity of different partners, there's a huge need for efficient communication and outreach and inreach in order to keep the consortium running. So we actually strategized our communication and societal impact, and I tell you a little bit of that. So that's really the contents of my talk today. So obviously we built all those must social media outlets, web page and Twitter, Facebook, and things like this. And there are some aspects here of our communications and social impact strategy, which we implemented during the project. I'll give you some highlights of our strategy in my next slides. So one thing, of course, one is outreach, but one is the inreach. That when you have 40 partners, you are kind of a head of a small family, and you have to put your time and effort to communicate not only outside, but also kind of with your partners, and sort of keep them happy and keep them aware what's happening. And of course, there are several ways. So we had all these social media outlets. We had this. I wrote directors' letters, and with help of CancerIO office, we did a lot of that kind of stuff. But also, it was very nice to kind of hear what our partners are thinking about the questions that we were addressing in a consortium. So we were writing a lot of blogs, inviting people to write blogs, which had a good outreach, and were able to us to kind of harmonize our thinking and have a different viewpoints. We also actively investigated that how our CancerIO ecosystem or CancerIO family is interacting, with each other. So you remember this 360 means that we are hoping to have a new networks, and we actually investigated by different questionnaires that how much our partners are at the moment in interacting with each other. And this graph is representing the level of interactions based on this inquiries, these questionnaires. This may sound a bit silly from the ears of a scientist, but I think it's very common in everywhere else in a society that when you're running a consortium, you are also practicing some reflection, personal reflection, that we are asking our partners that how well we are doing in running this CancerIO. So that can you tell us that, what's your grading to the what is your level of satisfaction to CancerIO office's work, and which of the teams that we are working on you find most interesting. So we were kind of surveying our own performance, and even if you don't always get like a huge amount of replies to those questions, but at least I think it's a nice sign for your partners that you're not just running your show blindly, but you are all the time kind of asking that am I doing good? Am I doing a good job? Are we doing well? And then we go out. So that was kind of an in-reach and outreach. One thing which we found important, not only for CancerIO, but also to the whole communities around CancerIO, is training and education. And this is part of the scientific training and education. So this was really much run by Heidi Haikala and Jerome Powells. So they organized a new type of a series called seminars, so seminar and a webinar. This was, of course, very good idea in the times of COVID. And the people were these were extremely popular. People were able to, the students were able to get credits, and then scientists new ideas and insight into their work, because there was not so many organized activities around IO in Finland at that point. So we felt that we are a little bit filling the gap with seminars like next gen immunotherapies or single cell tumor immunity and things like this. So yeah, they were highly popular not only inside of Finland but also kind of outside. So for example, this innate immunity got 6,400 views in YouTube, and of course Douglas Hanahan's who was a writer of the Hallmarks of Cancer, his talk draw wide audiences. So these were big successes in terms of training. But we also felt that for example, we talk about translating research, but there's really little training, to be honest, in a university curricula or even a medical curricula to really tackle with the questions which are important in this in the process of translational research. And this is an example of one course that we organized for kind of decision makers, for medical kind of oncologists and for our students at the universities dealing with how to translate research into clinical benefit. And then, of course, one question, and maybe last part of my talk, is really kind of relating to this impact. And you know, once you have so many partners, you understand that if you manage to speak with a one voice, that means that our voice will be heard. So it's not sort of like one organization talking, but 30 organizations talking. So there's a lot of opportunities to make a great impact, and that's exactly what we wanted to do, and we decided that we want to do that. So our strategy was basically that instead of just inviting people to discuss in a panel discussions, that let's give them first some grounds for discussion, and we published several like landscape reports. And they were not only landscape reports. That one question is like why we have so few clinical trials, cancer clinical trials in Finland. The other one is that why do we have so slow coming of immunotherapies in Finland? And we were interviewing a lot of stakeholders here and opinion leaders, and we were then basically based on their answers, we also prepared some recommended actions. So not only just basically reporting what's the problem, but trying to actively to find solutions. So this is just the example of this in Finnish, and it just shows that, for example, this is an example that when we were trying to understand how the new medicines are coming to the patient in Finland, so what are the channels and who is approving and what, and it's just showing how complex the system is. And then we can present this to experts and say that what's your, are you happy with this, or should we change this somehow? And if we should change this somehow, what's your best view that how we should do that? So that meant that we were able to produce reports which not only described the problem, but they had this kind of really focused action, recommended actions, like, here's commitment, and then there's details, and then there's a plan and details, motivate, details, support, details, collaborate, and details. So I think that was a good way to kind of communicate our, all our diverse opinions that scientists often have, and the decision makers in a coherent way to the political decision makers who are the people who basically can implement through new laws or through new funding something what's going to be solving those problems. So we organized this, we used very much Think Corner of the University of Helsinki to make all of these discussions and all of this to the public, so they were streamed so anybody could participate. And this is examples of those reports, and they're all available from our website, CancerIO.org. You can take a look on those. And there were these Think Corner events were extremely popular. So people joined physically and through internet to listen to the discussion. And typically, what is just looking at the anatomy of those meetings, this is showing a typical meeting where we had kind of somebody from CancerIO, but then also somebody representing pharma industry, for example, somebody representing cancer organizations, and then we had also Finnish members of parliament. It was quite laborious to get them coming, but there's always some MPs who are more interested in the health issues than others, and usually those people were managed to get to discuss and give a talks. So that means that because we were able to create substance that is heavy enough, so it's, not just some university guys or pharma guys' opinion, but really a concern that is voiced out by 30 partners. So that also motivated members of parliament to take those discussions to the Finnish the government and to parliament, and we got a lot of that kind of activity happening, and because decision makers are starting to get interested in these concerns, then of course there's media as well, basically who are helping us to bring those issues, give them visibility. And this is something what we achieved in terms of our kind of political influencing. So we got 2 written inquiries relating to the question that why can immuno-oncology and treatments are coming so slowly to Finland, and one proposal of action how to make it easier for combination therapies to be approved in the Finnish system. And of course, there's lots of press releases and high-level MPs kind of bringing those into discussion. So in a way, we were very happy that when we are following what kind of discussion is happening in the Finnish parliament, it's then all of a sudden seeing like how immuno-oncology is one part of those discussions made us really proud and happy of our strategy, which basically brought some of these health and research questions to the high level decision making. And the last, so I think we try to be also like a future forward looking instead of looking back, and this was kind of our last report which was quite interesting exercise in a future foresight. So we're trying to kind of use the methodology of future foresight area to understand where the field is going and what are the risks and what could happen if we don't address some of the major concerns we have at the moment. I don't go into details, but it was also quite a nice exercise that brought a lot of our partners together. So we're working together, we're collecting weak signals, we were clustering the weak signals, we were developing stories that are describing what could happen. For example, what is a nightmare scenario in the future and what is the good scenario in the future if things go in the right way. And this has led to our final kind of a report about 4 scenarios how cancer treatment happens in 2030 in Finland. So yeah, it was a fantastic journey. It's still going on, so we still have some kind of projects ongoing, but by and large, the CancerIO was and the final event was held last October. So in officially it's a mission accomplished, and although some aspects are still kind of working. So of course, having such a huge effort, I think really appeals to the 4 people, so-called CancerIO office. So it was Mirjami Tran, Jerome Powers, and Heidi Haikala who are working with me and creating all these ideas, without any previous experience that what would be a good communication strategy and how to make impact through our work beyond the scientific area or health area. Okay, thanks, Kiara. I hope I didn't go too much over time.
It's okay, we were a little bit late. I guess we will have a little bit shorter Q&A, but this was extremely interesting. Thank you for sharing, Juha. Actually, just to get us in the mood of the Q&A, and thank you, Caroline, for also joining. Unfortunately, Darshan had to leave because the doctor came, so no more questions for him, but I think we are gonna have plenty with the 2 of you. So since CancerIO is now ended, what's next? Like, will you start a new consortia, or are you trying to continue this work in another format? It was very impressive what you achieved already, but.
So one thing is, I think I was always trying to kind of remind everybody, including myself, that project is a project. So that project needs to have its life cycle. So it starts from somewhere and it ends to somewhere. So in 70% of the consortia that I have been involved, there's always the last year discussion. Everybody's getting like panicking, like, hey, what's going to happen? We have done so great job. We like each other. We want to have these meetings going on. And I just have to remind you that you need, the project has a life cycle. It's not an organization. That hospital, university, FICAN is organization which goes forever, hopefully. But project is a project. So everybody has to understand that we have fun as long as it lasts, and then we're not going to have. And of course, so CancerIO will not. Then there won't be CancerIO 2. And I think we all in the same line of thinking with funders as well, that it would be totally wrong for Finnish funders to fund similar project year after year and take the opportunity from other people to step in. And what comes to the question of whether I have some new ideas brewing in my head, you can guess that I do. And you will hear about those once we are ready. So we are in a stealth mode at the moment, but something is brewing, but it's not going to be. I think CancerIO fulfilled, in my biased opinion, pretty well the need that we created. We wanted to bring the immuno-oncology so that people, even people working in the cancer field, knows that there's a change has happened, and also that we don't have those kind of barriers which we used to have to prevent new medicines coming to the Finnish cancer patients. And I think that we did everything we can, and there's not much more we could do anymore. So I think it's time to kind of step out from that business and think of the new kind of challenges.
Thank you. Okay, So let's see, does anybody have any questions? I'm trying to get back to my screen because something here it is. Yes, Titta, please.
Yes, thank you, Chiara. I was wondering, you, Caroline, and Juha are really experienced like doing business collaboration from the research sites for many, many years. But if you are just thinking about a young researcher who is just trying to contact or collaborate with corporates, so what do you think or see is the most important thing when you are starting just as a young researcher doing this business collaboration? For example, what is the right stage to contact university lawyers, etc.? Thanks.
Caroline, you start.
I usually, thank you, Tita, for that very nice question. So I usually contacted them in the very beginning when we're setting up the CD area and NDA, so the confidentiality disclosure agreement or non-disclosure agreement. So it's very important to get that set up early on. And the university does prefer to use their own template for this agreement. But a lot of these are easily accessible on Flamma as well.
So I could. So if you did that, that was a really excellent question. I kind of can relate to your feelings, because when I started this business, I was young and inexperienced scientist with a lot of doubts of my skills to run. And I can tell you that the time when me and Jeroen were discussing with the heads of Bayer how we should run clinical trials, I felt totally incompetent to say any word about clinical trials. And Jeroen told later on that he also felt, but it didn't prevent us of doing our stuff. So my message is that the really critical element is what I try to highlight in my talk in the beginning, is that you have to sense that where the needs are. That think about your partnership, that you are very good if you understand what are the needs of the other person, and so that if you want to get pharma industry or kind of a small companies to collaborate with you, and what you're doing doesn't address any of their needs, you're not going to have much success. But if you understand, for example, the CancerIO we understood that everybody was thinking that why there's no word about immuno-oncology in Finland. Despite of the fact that it's a big wave happening outside. So it was really easy to get people to work with you and satisfy your needs, because you understood what are their needs and what are the common needs that everybody. So it's really about, I think, understanding that what gaps we have in the community or in the area which needs to be filled, and then just basically try to build bring people together to address these kind of things. So and then once you think that you have figured out something like this, then you just go and don't think about none of us is really expert in anything, to be honest. We just have to kind of go when you think that you have something what other people are interested in as well.
Thank you. Does anybody else have other questions? Maybe I can ask one and give you a little bit more time to think about it. So I think you both touched upon this a little bit, but how do you handle the difference in the working cultures between academia and industry? I mean, this comes down to like a working speed, like industry wanting fast results, academia wanting to like take the time to really do thorough experiments, and also like like changing of the people. That I always thought that academia is quite fast-paced in terms of changing people in a lab, but apparently industry is even faster. And also the aspect of like confidentiality versus open science. So like all of these differences, how do you mediate?
Yeah, very good questions. Many layered questions. So I think one needs to, when we talk about open science, yeah, this is very important as academic researchers, and I think it's good to be very strategic in the beginning as well, and be also in the early discussions with the companies, you have to be very clear what your priorities are as an academic researcher. So you do need to have these publications, and this should be brought up very early, so they're there's no miscommunication. We often work with companies that are developing drugs that are not in the public domain, but they might have there might be similar molecules targeting the same pathway that are publicly available that you can buy from a company like Sigma. So we try to be very strategic in our research and use some of these publicly available drugs as a way to validate the company drug, for example, and then we can walk away with those results and publish on them. While maybe it will take a bit longer time to publish the results on the company molecule. So this is one way we deal with this problem with open science and with companies. And yeah, so and then the change of personnel, it can be a little bit challenging sometimes, but usually, when a person at a company moves from one company to another, they're still going to keep you as a contact, and it's important to maintain that contact through LinkedIn or a similar social media platform, but because they will get back to you later. They may get back to you later at their new company, because they may see you as an important partner, and that it would be useful in the new position. But I should maybe hand the floor over to Juha, and he can also chime in as well with these questions.
Thanks, Caroline. I think we are discussing about a little bit two different things. Like one is collaboration, that when we do a collaboration like academia industry collaboration, then often kind of this has a milestones and deliverables and all of this, and really little public outreach. And if you are thinking of the academic collaboration, when I collaborate with somebody at other lab, our meetings are dealing with questions like what is the right glucose concentration in a medium, and there's not really point to do a lot of outreach. Nobody cares outside that what is the glucose concentration we're using our medium. But when we go into consortium work, where you have like a large number of partners, 30 partners, then there are a couple of, I think, important frameworks. One is that all the work usually is pre-competitive. So that means that whatever is invented as part of the consortium work will be, the IP, for example, will be shared between the partners. So which means that don't bring anything into the consortium work which you don't want to share, and that already sets the stage for consortium work, which often that good consortium work, if you talk about research and development, for example, is relates to the development of a platform or development of a new system to address questions that we haven't been able to address before. There's a lot of often collaboration, which means that you're publishing papers where you have a lot of authors, a lot of people have been contributing, a lot of people like to work in that way. So I don't see this fast and slow pace. Of course, fast pace, maybe what you're referring to is, for example, if we are dealing with questions relating to new treatments coming to Finnish hospitals, that's a fast pace. So our partners want us to communicate as soon as possible and bring this into discussion. and then politicians want to try to deal this before the new elections are coming. So there are all these different things. Again, I'm just saying that you have to understand that what sort of consortium or partnership you are entering into, and then adjust the speed kind of accordingly. That if you want to publish a great paper, it's going to take 3 years, and there's really little kind of reasons to outreach before you have your paper, because we communicate in science through scientific articles and presentations. But then if you have working with this kind of a where you have a societal aspects and like this, I think you need to continuously communicate and do the outreach. So there are different needs in different projects.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, this was very interesting. Does anybody else have questions? I didn't see any in the chat. I hope I didn't miss any.
Can I, Kiara, advertise this Moodle course that was done a few years ago in the business collaboration team?
Yes.
And Caroline Heckman was also involved in that. My former colleague Heidi Kinnunen was involved in that, and it's still available, and there is a lot of information for, especially for young researchers, how to do business collaboration. So.
Yes, I'll repost it in the chat.
Yeah, I think as a in my research group, I do involve my research team with these collaborations quite actively, and I think I don't know, some of them are actually participants right now, but hopefully, I mean, it provides them with good connections, and I think especially for the postdocs and senior researchers, I try to let them manage some of these collaborations as well, and maybe start off with maybe a smaller collaboration that they can take forward. So it's really good to, delegate that type of responsibility so they get that experience as younger researchers as well, because it is, I think, often they are interested in maybe possibly moving to a company. So, and a lot of that type of work will be project management. So that's yeah.
Maybe I could also just chime in because I think that the theme of today's talks is really about the public, academic industry collaborations, and one thing I want to bring is that, like, I haven't got the most of my international training at UCSF. I have at the moment visiting professorship at UCSF, so I'm sharing my time. And what struck me about 20 years ago that it was quite seamless. Everybody was collaborating with everybody. So academic labs were collaborating with industry, and industry collaborating. So it's like normal day-to-day activity. And when I returned to Finland, I felt that there's all this extremely polarized discussions going on about academia and industry, and almost like they would be somehow representing different roles. They are not. Many of the people who are working in the industry today have academic training. And we have to first of all understand we are kind of the same breed. The other thing, what is important, we have to understand what are the ground rules of collaboration. For example, in my lab, we have had a lot of industry collaborations with pharma, with biotech, with you name it. But everything we do, we want to publish, so that I can't put any of my student or postdoc in a project where they wouldn't be gaining scientific merit through publication. So this is like the go no go for us. So in practice, that means that companies often would like to kind of protect new innovations and information. And sometimes you have to sign a document where you commit to show your data before even showing a poster to your industry partner for them to evaluate whether they can give a green light for us to publish. And this, of course, is a bit compromising, I think, integrity. But so far, we have never had any problems with that. So that it's often kind of in those material transfer agreements, it's almost like some kind of that either you understand that you have to discuss the potential IP aspects before publishing, or you're not going to have a deal. And this is something what I've been discussing with university lawyers many times, and it's a bit like, I think it's a bit gray area. But if you feel that, for example, if you're working with pharma company, they don't care monkeys about if you want to have IP for some new methodology or things like this, but they do care a lot about the results which are relating to their drug. So I think, again, the big thing here is that both partners understand what are the needs of the other person. So the companies needs to have new information relating to the drug and biological actions. Companies not always, very few, only big companies are working on like a mechanisms, how the drugs are affecting to the biology. So this is a turf of academic labs. But then the academic labs needs to publish. We're gonna die out unless we get kind of public funding, and our grad students want to get their PhDs, and our postdocs want to move in their careers and have great papers. So once we understand what the other person wants from the collaboration, then everything is getting somehow more smooth and easy. And we have to understand what are the go/no-goes as well as and I don't remember any times that we have had any problem, for example, with publishing the results. And if you look at our publication results, then almost all paper has co-authors from the industry side.
Thank you. Yes, I think that, like, as in any type of collaboration, having like good communication and like knowing what the other party wants from the beginning is very good advice. And thank you both for really sharing like all of these interesting perspectives. And a big thank you also for Darshan that had to leave, but like for the commitment to the event. Before letting everybody go, I wanted to still share a couple of things. So if you like the event and you are now like intrigued about business collaboration and innovation in general, I mean, the good news is that if you are at the very early stage, you don't need to do it alone. There is a lot of like support and events available for you. And of course, the university has like the legal team that can help you negotiate this collaboration and the NDA and so on. And there's also a business collaboration team that you can reach out to get more information on like different types of business collaboration that you can set up. In addition, this is unfortunately only for University of Helsinki people, but like we publish every month a list of life science innovation events. Some are more entrepreneurship, some are more business collaboration. It's like a bit of a mix, but you might find something interesting there. The April one is coming probably next week, so check out Flamma. Also, if you are like a postdoc, not from University of Helsinki, but like any organization, I suggest that you check out the Finnish Research Impact Foundation. They have currently this open call for tandem industry academia postdoc. So it's like a shared position between industry and university. And the call is open until mid-April. So please check it out. Another interesting opportunity for academics and corporate to partner with each other is with the venture alliances. Actually, Gabriella, that just posted her information in the chat, would be the right person to reach out to for this. Unfortunately, the next call is in September, but they accept emails where people just mention that they are interested in this. So please check out their webpage also and get some more information. If you are interested more on the like patenting and maybe starting a spin-out company track, University of Helsinki also has a lot of support, not only for university researchers and students. This is like, again, open to the whole community. So we have a pre-incubator program that is 7 week long, HealthTech. Then Spark Finland, that is a nationwide program, also helps you. And then the Health Incubator Helsinki provides the later stage of support. So like the first two programs are mainly for research and innovation projects aimed towards patenting and innovation or like starting a company. And then Health Incubator Helsinki is more like if you already spin out a startup from a research project, then that would be a good place to get mentoring and network and so on. HealthTech has actually the call open right now, so until end of next week. Spark Finland will open a call in May, and then the Health Incubator Helsinki, I think they're closing the call this Sunday, so it's a bit like rushed, but you can still check it out. Biodesign Finland is another interesting program, collaboration with the hospital, like really identifying the healthcare needs and then developing solutions. And they also have an application open at the moment. So if you're interested in healthcare innovation, this is definitely a very interesting program. I think they require Finnish, but like if any of you speaks good Finnish, I think that this can be very interesting. And this is a bit early to advertise, but just keep in mind that when Slush comes, Why Science is also coming back for the 6th year. So we are a life science innovation side event of Slush that it's been growing quite a bit. So also a very good place to network and get a little bit of inspiration in this field. And with this, I thank all of you, again, Caroline and Juha and Darshan, and also Rashad for coordinating the whole event series and all the technical support during the event and before. And thank you all of you, and I wish you a very nice Friday and weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.